Hey there, it's me Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access, link in the description. The Ripple Effect. Alex sat on the couch, the sunlight streaming through his living room window, casting a warm glow that felt almost foreign after the cold sterility of the time travel facility. His thoughts lingered on Harriet Walter's message. In the original timeline, Harriet had been his only ally during his tumultuous transition to Alexis. In this timeline, she was a mystery, a potential connection to the life he had nearly lost. Before he could decide whether to call her, a knock on the door interrupted his reverie. Alex rose, his steps deliberate, and opened the door to find a tall man in a dark suit standing on his porch. "Mr. Harrison?" the man asked, his voice clipped. "Yes, that's me," Alex replied cautiously. The man handed him a sealed envelope. "You've been served," he said simply, turning on his heel and walking away. Alex stared at the envelope in his hands, his pulse quickening. Tearing it open, he scanned the document. It was a notice of investigation, citing his involvement in the destruction of the time machine. The project leaders were pressing charges, claiming gross negligence and unauthorized actions. Alex's heart sank as he realized the gravity of his situation. The shadows of consequence. Later that evening, Alex met Harriet at a quiet coffee shop downtown. She hadn't changed much, her warm smile was as he remembered. Over coffee, he recounted the events of the past few weeks, carefully omitting the details of his time-traveling exploits. "I can tell something's weighing on you," Harriet said, her voice soft but probing. "Whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone." Alex hesitated, then decided to trust her. "Let's just say I was involved in something that had unintended consequences. Now, I'm paying the price." Harriet frowned. "Alex, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that running from your past only makes the future harder. Whatever this is, you have to face it head-on." Her words struck a chord. As they parted ways, Alex resolved to take control of his fate, no matter the cost. A twist of the knife. The next morning, Alex received an unexpected call from Dr. Larson. His tone was cold, almost mechanical. "Mr. Harrison, we need you back at the facility. The damage to the time machine wasn't just structural. We're detecting anomalies, ripples in the timeline. You may have disrupted more than you realize." Alex's blood ran cold. "What kind of anomalies?" "We're still analyzing, but people are reporting events that never happened, memories that don't align with reality. We need your help to fix this." Reluctantly, Alex agreed to return. As he walked into the facility, the weight of the paradox he had caused bore down on him. Dr. Larson wasted no time, directing him to a conference room where a team of scientists was huddled around monitors displaying erratic data. One screen caught Alex's eye, a live feed showing himself, or rather, Alexis, arguing with Dr. Thomas outside the facility. The timestamp was from yesterday. "How is this possible?" Alex whispered. Dr. Larson looked grim. "It seems your paradox didn't resolve completely. We're seeing echoes of alternate timelines, bleeding into this one. A race against time." The team devised a plan to stabilize the timeline. Alex would need to re-enter the time machine and confront the residual energy from his paradox. But there was a catch. The process was dangerous, and the margin for error was slim. As Alex suited up, Harriet appeared in the chamber, her presence a comforting anchor. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "I have to be," Alex replied. "If I don't fix this, who knows what could happen?" With one final nod, he stepped into the machine. The chamber sealed, the hum of the reactor rising to a deafening crescendo. Colors and lights swirled around him once more, but this time, they were darker, more chaotic. The final confrontation. Alex found himself standing in his old living room, face to face with Alexis once again. The air crackled with tension as they stared at each other, mirrors of what could have been and what was. "You shouldn't be here," Alexis said, her voice trembling. "Neither should you," Alex replied. "But here we are." As the timeline began to unravel around them, Alex realized the only way to stabilize it was to let go of his regrets. He reached out, offering a hand to Alexis. "We have to end this together," he said. Reluctantly, Alexis took his hand, and the room dissolved into a blinding light. A new beginning. When Alex awoke, he was back in the facility, the hum of machinery replaced by an eerie silence. Dr. Larson stood over him, his expression one of cautious relief. "It's done," Larson said. "The timeline is stable." As Alex returned home that evening, he felt a strange sense of peace. The paradox had been resolved, and with it, the burdens of his past. Sitting on his couch, he dialed Harriet's number. "Hi, Harriet. It's Alex. I'd love to meet up again." I sat there on my couch, phone still warm in my hand after calling Harriet. My mind churned, unable to settle. The world outside seemed quiet, normal even, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Calling her had been an impulsive choice, maybe the only good one I'd made recently. I wasn't sure why I did it. Perhaps I needed to anchor myself to something real after everything that had happened. It wasn't long before I heard a knock at the door. 3 short raps. Not the aggressive, demanding kind. The hesitant kind, like someone unsure if they should even be here. I got up, heart pounding, and opened the door to find Harriet standing there. She had her usual calm smile, but there was something in her eyes, a flicker of concern that she couldn't quite mask. "Alex," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation, "I know this sounds strange, but something feels off. Ever since we met earlier, I can't shake this feeling like I've forgotten something important." I froze, unsure what to say. The ripple effect. It had to be. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to sound casual, but my voice cracked slightly. "I don't know," she admitted, sitting on the couch and fidgeting with the strap of her bag. "It's like déjà vu, but deeper. Like I've lived through moments that didn't happen. And then there's you. You seem different. It's hard to explain." I laughed nervously, more to fill the silence than anything else. "I've been through a lot lately," I said, avoiding her gaze. "Maybe you're picking up on that." She studied me for a moment, her eyes sharp and unrelenting. Harriet wasn't someone you could easily fool, but thankfully, she didn't push. Instead, she leaned back and sighed. "Maybe I'm just overthinking things," she said, though her tone suggested she didn't believe it. We talked for a while about nothing in particular. The kind of conversation you have when both people are trying to fill a void they don't fully understand. She told me about her job, a promotion she was considering, and I nodded along, though my mind was elsewhere. The timeline. The paradox. The strange flashes during the jump back. I wanted to tell her everything, but how could I? How do you explain to someone that you've seen the fabric of reality unraveling? Then she said something that jolted me back. "Do you believe in fate?" I blinked, caught off guard. "Fate? Like destiny?" She nodded. "I've been thinking about it a lot lately. How some things feel inevitable, no matter what choices we make. Like the universe has a plan, and we're just along for the ride." I stared at her, the weight of her words settling over me like a heavy blanket. "I used to," I said finally. "But now? I don't know. Maybe fate is just what we tell ourselves to make sense of things we can't control. She tilted her head, considering this. That's pretty cynical, she said, though there was no judgment in her voice. But I get it. The conversation shifted after that, lightening up, but her question lingered in my mind long after she left. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those swirling lights, the kaleidoscope of colors, the burning machine. I kept thinking about what Harriet had said about déjà vu. What if the ripples hadn't stopped? What if I'd only delayed the inevitable? The next morning, I woke to find a letter slipped under my door. There was no stamp, no return address, just my name written in neat, unfamiliar handwriting. I tore it open and unfolded the paper. The message was short and cryptic. The timeline is fragile. Meet me at the old gas station on Maple Street at midnight. I read the note 3 times, trying to decipher its meaning. Who had sent it? Dr. Larson? One of the engineers? Or someone, or something else entirely? I had no answers, only questions that gnawed at my sanity. But I knew one thing for sure, I had to go. When midnight came, I found myself standing under the flickering light of the gas station sign, the cool night air biting at my skin. The street was deserted, the only sound the hum of the streetlights. I waited, my breath visible in the cold. Minutes passed, stretching into what felt like hours, until finally, I saw a figure approaching from the shadows. Please subscribe my channel for the next part. And visit my Patreon page for early access.